But here is Salvation. Just 1-1 so far. Only 2 games played. None against Terran. It's very rare, definitely even in all of Korea, to see any Terran versus Terran going down. Very big lack of Terrans nowadays.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny matchup. It's one that is pretty figured out, I would say. It hasn't changed too drastically from StarCraft 1 into StarCraft 2, and then from Wings of Liberty, the Heart of the Swarm. There's a few changes, a few different things. Hellbat drops were like crazy strong in the beginning of everything, but once those got nerfed, we don't really see them all too often anymore. Bbyong is 8-2 overall in Pro League, but he also has not played yet a single Terran versus Terran. Showed a lot of great Terran versus Terran last season of Pro League, and I expect that in this matchup, he's still going to show us that he's quite dominant. I mean, this guy's one of the best Terrans in the world. It still means he doesn't play a lot of TVT because there's very few Terrans in Korea. But I think his Terran versus Terran is really good. I highly favor him here.
Yeah, we both went with Bbyong for this one. We didn't have the predictions come up. That's what we went for.
Well, the map is Outboxer, a great map for Terran, so not surprised that this is the one we see our TVT on. We're jumping into Game 3 to find out whether Prime or CJ Entis is going to take an early lead.
LTA는 SK텔레콤.
In the top left on Outboxer. In the purple for Prime, it is Salvation.
And to the bottom right, in the yellow, it's Bbyong for CJ Entis. Great player. Don't underestimate this guy.
Yeah. So far, Prime, of course, not having the best record in Pro League, but, you know, if you consider that, also having not a great record here on Salvation, or rather, Outboxer. On Outboxer, Salvation, of course, being the player for Prime. But Salvation here is 1-0, and Bbyong is 2-0, so both these guys actually undefeated on Outboxer. That will change today.
Yeah, one of them's got to lose, right?
Yeah.
Unless we have some crazy situation where you just like tie so many times that eventually everyone's just like, well, I guess we're going home.
It's like 2 a.m. We're still on Game 3.
You know,
that would be interesting.
The thing is, like, whenever you think about it, you're like, well, of course everyone would go home. We wouldn't just keep playing the games. But no, we would keep playing the games.
Yeah, we would.
How many times I've done this in my career in up and down matches where I'm like, well, I guess it's 2 a.m. and we're still here. It's just going to go on for a little while. Definitely could be fun. I haven't had something like that happen in a while. The last time we had like a crazy long game was Reality versus Solki, obviously. Then we had the rematch that was also long.
Yeah. Funny series there. Definitely one of the highlights of Pro League. One of the most interesting things that did happen here. TVZ, super long game. Big tie. Salvation right now shaking his hand. I think he's getting some cramps.
I hope not.
That's not good to happen when you're in the booth. Like, think about how he's got to be feeling.
Well, he's going to take a bit of a later gas. And, yeah, he's definitely...
He's feeling it, man.
Something's not going right in there.
Bbyong, on the other hand, I want to talk a bit about his record, because when he first started here, I think it was actually 0-1, and he took a little bit to get going, but now he's at 8-2, and we saw TY, I think, win 8 games in a row for like the biggest win streak here at Pro League. But Bbyong is a guy that, even though he's coming out here a little bit later, he's beginning to become one of these Terrans now in Pro League that is making a gigantic name for himself. And now that he's beginning to come out every single week, he's going to just keep on increasing that win ratio there. He's, you know, me and you feel like at least for this game it's going to be 9-2, but as we keep going up and up and up, even against strong players, you can take wins. And this guy is going to start challenging those guys at the top for those winning rankings.
Yeah, he's getting closer. I have to say, Bbyong is the type of Terran who, every time I saw him play in the previous season Pro League, he was like the late game Terran player, right? The one who played all the way till the end. He's going to deny this command center, which really hurts. He actually should be able to get the kill. Doesn't actually chase for it. I think he could have gotten that and still escaped, but he wants to play a little bit safer. Saves the Reaper. The second Reaper is coming over, and it's going to get ahead, or help him get further ahead. I really like the harassment-oriented style that we're seeing from Bbyong here, but let's see how much you know, he can actually pay off with it. The other key thing to note is that he has his command center on the low ground, so he's going to have that saturation a little bit faster.
Yeah, especially with delaying the command center build time before, and he may do it again. No, gets pushed out by the Marines. But even
Might
so,
poke
like,
up one more time. He's going to check here. Kills a Marine.
Nice. That is hard to do when you don't have vision on the high ground. You got to go up there, immediately click on that guy that's low, and come back. So very nice snipe there by the Reapers.
Well, I mean, he's going to go ahead and... Well, let's see. Actually, take a closer look. My little special
You get
mouse
your
over here.
magnifying glass out.
So he's going into double Hellions here. Of course, getting the starport up. He has a barracks at the front as part of his wall. Let's see if he starts producing out of it or if he's just going to go mech here. Because back at home for Salvation, he hasn't started anything that leads you to believe that he's going bio. He has a tech lab on that barracks, but he's going to swap it here. And he's going to go Banshees. So I think we might actually have a mech versus mech game here on our hands, Brendan.
Yeah, it is looking that way, especially with no more barracks units coming out of either player. There's a Banshee over there, and Bbyong is actually going to go for a Viking first. He's going to really enjoy the fact that Salvation, of course, is going to go for that Banshee with the cloak.
Yeah, he's got to make sure he has turrets up, though, and has, you know, some defenses set up in general, like, you know, without any detection or any scans. The Banshee can still have a great time against the Viking. Does see the cloak coming in here, so I don't think he's going to be skipping any of those. Starts eBay right away after seeing this.
Yeah, that's a great scout. That's something you can do with starting Reapers, especially if your opponent is not ready for it. Salvation, unfortunately, he had 3 Marines there to stop it, but they just were a little bit too far to the south when the Reaper came in, so they weren't able to deny the scout.
He actually goes into what? Okay, so he's going into Raven, but okay, so I thought he canceled the Banshee for a second. I was freaking out.
No, yeah, he still has the Banshee.
I was like, why would he go Raven when still get the cloak? I thought he canceled Raven after he got Scout. I'm like, well, that's just a bit silly. That turns out he's still going to harass with it.
Yeah. It's almost like, I feel like he could have even gone for the cancel on the cloak because Bbyong is just so ready for it.
He might still do it. Well, okay, it's finished, but he had like a split second there to be like, oh, you got turrets already and stuff, I'm just going to cancel.
Yeah,
Having the Raven is pretty useful, though.
Yeah. Bbyong is going to even get out the Raven as well. Now we're seeing both these guys definitely going into max. So many Hellions coming out of both players, no bio units. Extra factory coming out here for Salvation.
Well, 4 Hellion drop coming in. Let's see how much damage he gets done here. He's got a lot of Hellions to defend at home, but he needs to actually send them over there. 2 Hellions going to the main base, so he has to split them up.
Loses the medevac, a little bit of a mistake there, but the Hellion's going to start doing a lot of damage. Gets a couple of these units. Actually, not so much damage at all. Does get cleaned up after only doing 2 Harvesters in damage. And that's 4 Hellions and a medevac lost for basically no damage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, starting to see the armory here. 3rd commander is going up. Blue Flame goes down for Salvation. And he's going to be going into the heavy Hellion composition, as you guys can see on the unit tab. He just has like way, way more Hellions.
I like it. I mean, especially as you get the advantage in Hellions. Because both these players right now just going pretty much pure Hellion. Salvation adding that second barracks, of course, to get the Blue Flame. But he's going to have so many Hellions, especially after killing a bunch of Byongs as they went for the failed harass there.
Yeah. Let's see how, like, it looks like he's going to... What are your thoughts on this? Do you think he's actually going to go for like a timing with these Hellions, or just tries to break through and just do a ton of SCV damage? Is that the idea here? Because I mean, he's making way more Hellions than Bbyong is right now. He's starting now siege tanks, but I mean, at some point you got to say like that's enough Hellions. Like I've got enough of them.
Yeah, I feel like he was coming in there with the 1 Hellion to get a good idea of what the composition is, and he saw only Hellions, so he scans the main base and he sees the tech labs on the factory, so he's got to know that a bunch of tanks are coming out here. I think he's still going to go poke at the front, but if he commits too hard to this with 2 tanks coming out at a time with siege mode up on the ramp, I think he could be in a bit of trouble. He's got to be careful here.
I don't think he can commit here. There's no 3rd base, so...
Yeah.
I mean, I guess with this, he controls the map a little bit, takes his own 3rd.
Yeah, he's going to get his 3rd down before Bbyong will. And now Bbyong has that CC done, but he's going to float it over now It's going to be a little later. And you know just how much map control are you going to get with these Hellions. He leaves one over there, but he brings most of them back just to try to, you know, hover around the middle of the map. But look at this. Another Reaper comes into the main, gets a free scout, may even get an SCV.
Yeah, possibly so. They're going to lose that. And here we go, a Hellion battle. This could actually decide a lot.
Bbyong is just about to get Blue Flame. Did not have it when that first started, so he had to back off. One thing about Bbyong right now is that he's definitely getting the advantage in tanks. He's putting out 2 at a time, whereas Salvation is still getting a bunch of these Hellions and a lot of Vikings.
I mean, he's got the Viking count. I'm going to take a look at it. 7 Vikings to 7, actually, funny as it is right now. Prime Salvation versus what we see for Bbyong here, but let's look at some of the other numbers. 3 siege tanks to 6, and the Hellion advantage that he had early on is kind of negated now. It's 16 to 15. Worker count's about dead even for them. They both have a Raven. That Banshee is still around, so that's something else to consider for Salvation, but it's going to be hard for either of these players to kill each other for a pretty long time here. Upgrade-wise, much better here for Bbyong, as he has the +2 started as the +1 starts for Salvation, so that's something else he has. Seems like he's just played the more late-game focused style, thinking about the upgrades he's got, thinking about where he wants to be and how he wants to get there. Looks like we're going to see an island expansion taken here by Salvation. He's going to bring 4 SCVs. You might wonder why. Well, it's probably to make turrets.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be for. You got to get the turret ring up and started. Here we go. There are the turrets. He's actually going to build those first and then build the command center.
Or maybe, is that a command center to the north? I'm going to check that. There's something up there. No, it's barracks, so he's going to have to build the command center.
Yeah. Right now, as Bbyong has been focusing a lot on that tank production there, he does have the bigger number right now, 8 to 5, and he's going to start moving across the map. Right now, he did not sink the minerals into making a bunch of those turrets and that base, so this is his time to attack. He definitely has the advantage right now in army.
Salvation sees this. He sends a lot of Hellions to counterattack for a moment and then turns around. He's actually landing his Vikings and lifting up here. He seems to be a bit nervous about engaging this. Siege ups here. Nice position by Bbyong, and he's got the air control right now. He's got 13 Vikings to 10, and with a good PDD, he can actually take a great control. He's going to try to use that Banshee. But with the Raven here, obviously it's going to detect, and it looks like Bbyong is going to take control of the skies.
Yeah. PDD goes down earlier for Salvation. A big Viking volley does get rid of that at first, and now Bbyong, he is taking damage from that one missile turret, but it's not really going to matter. Taking a big advantage in the sky. Has more, well, no, the tank count is also evened up, but with that one big fight in the sky, you know, Salvation is going to have to continue using these scans to get the vision on the tanks, or else Bbyong could definitely take advantage of that and move them closer and have the vision from the Vikings, of course.
Well, this island base is going to start coming into play. He can just drop every single mule he wants over there. And it looks like Bbyong is just going to take a 4th base at a normal location. Doesn't seem like island's on the menu for him. Against mech, I like taking the island because if your opponent tries to drop that, what's he going to drop it with? Hellions probably, and you know, you lose your SCVs maybe, but you can just lift up. This is a nice little idea. No success on the other hand.
Yeah, a bunch of these Hellions of Bbyong as well trying to kite over here are going to come back still. And now he's defended this, and he still has that position up at the 3rd base of Salvation. So Bbyong in a really good position. He just has to be aware of that island base. I don't think he still knows, and even if he does, it's going to be hard to get over there and commit a lot to breaking that missile turret line. It seems like he just wants to set up a position over to the bottom as well, bottom of that 3rd base.
Well, I mean, let's see. The Viking count now is back up for Salvation. It's 10 to 8. In fact, he's going to fight this, and he's going to win this fight. The secret missile goes down here as well. And now he's taking total control of the air. And moving across the map now. A few Hellbats in medevacs. See if he can try to break a siege tank line with that. It's pretty brave to go for it. Do you think he's going to do this?
I don't know. I mean, the air advantage right now is for Salvation, but he moves in and he's going to try to drop these Hellbats. They do get dropped and they do mess with the tank lines, but a lot of those medevacs going down, and I feel like this is pretty actually Salvation-sided right now.
Yeah, I mean, either the Viking air dominance here meant that there were more units on the ground for Bbyong, but not all of them were together. Like you said, he lost the medevacs. Bit painful here. He's going to lose this base, though. And have to float away.
Yeah, he was able to move forward Bbyong enough to get into range of that third base. So I feel like even though he kind of lost the fight, it was more so that he gained a better position. So it's not even that he really lost the fight. It was more so that he just was able to get a great position there on the third base. It seems like now he may back off because he doesn't really feel as confident, but he did a great job of moving that third base back. And now Banshee coming in here for Salvation. No missile turret here just yet, and no Vikings as well. Losing a bunch of SCVs already. Got to be aware of this.
Bbyong needs to be careful because he doesn't know about this base. Okay, he scanned it. QXC style scans the island. He's actually going to do a siege tank drop. I like this because that's a planetary right there. He actually sieges this up.
Yeah, it's going to do a bunch of damage to those repairing SCVs, and he's going to force Salvation to defend it, which is the biggest issue here. So he can definitely go for the attack like he is going for that third base. He's going to move in here, but at the same time, a counterattack going by Salvation to the third base of Bbyong. He's got to be aware of that. But Bbyong is definitely going to win this big fight over here. Going to take down a bunch of tanks. But look down there at the third base of Bbyong.
Yep, it's taking a lot of damage here. And let's see. I mean, this is actually starting to look like a pretty good situation for Salvation, or rather for Bbyong, because he's killed a lot. He's killed this command, or he's stopped mining from the command center. He has this good position over here at the front, but he's not able to actually finish things off or capitalize on it. So I guess we're going to kind of take a step back here. Battle cruisers, by the way, on the way right now for Salvation. Air control situation, 6 Vikings to 4 for Salvation. So not like he has a massive lead in Vikings, but he's going to get a further one if he actually, well, he's got a lot more hit points, that is to say, on Bbyong's Vikings. So he's going to actually take control here of the air once again.
Yeah, both these players not having a huge focus on the air control right now, and Bbyong, you know, just on a lot of those weak Vikings, especially with the Thor support there, was just able to take a huge lead in the air now. He's able to snipe down that CC, and now I feel like he may just even move in. He has a huge number of tanks, 19 to 8.
Yeah, you might be able to just break through this. I mean, with just raw siege tank power, Thor is on the ground to help out as well. Enemy siege tanks sieging up here for Salvation, but there's not enough of them, it looks like. The Thors are just going to walk through and tank the damage, and those BCs aren't ready. That's a huge investment he put his hopes on here, and now it looks like Bbyong is just going to come through here and take the win. Look, those BCs popping out right now, nothing to do. He's got to like go repair it or something.
They have no Viking support. They have nothing. He lost all his tanks as well. He's got 1 tank on the ground. You see Bbyong pretty stoked in the booth. He knows he's got this. I mean, Hellbat's coming out of the buildings now. A big sigh out of Salvation. I think he knows he's lost this one.
Yeah, it's definitely over. Lifting his buildings here in desperation, but there's no way out of this game. Bbyong has also taken the island to the bottom left now. It's not like that advantage is there anymore. It looks like he's going to type out GG. Bbyong takes yet another win, like you said, getting himself further and further towards the top where Hero is in the winners ranking, and puts his team up 2-1. Just 1 win away from victory.
Yeah. CJ looking pretty good against Prime. Bbyong looks pretty happy with the win. I think he kind of expected it himself. I like that he didn't take any big risks in the game. He just played pretty standard mech versus mech, and he was able to just roll over Salvation towards the end of it. Salvation showing a bit of nerves. I think the biggest tell there was when Bbyong first came to the third base. Salvation was a little bit late on sieging up, and the position was not really good. He didn't have any spotting over there towards that right side of the map as well, so he didn't really know the push was coming in that big of a number as well. So he didn't really seem prepared for it, and once it came, he just kind of